because we are the only organized area of single adults in the church. And that's why we are blessed to be able to put on a conference like this. So we welcome you, and just understand how grateful we are. And Michael and I, and our presidency meets with an Area 70 once a month, and the church is very aware of you and wanting to be a support. So know how blessed this conference is. We also, if you'll have noticed, people with host badges on. We have people from all over Utah, well, up in Salt Lake or in Utah County, helping being hosts. Today we have the Hobble Creek, Springville Hobble Creek Stake coming and helping with their hearts and their hands to serve us. So thank them. They're coming here. And we have President Kyle Crandall and his wife, and they're presiding today right over there. And we are so grateful for his stake in being able to be here today. So we are going to open up with our opening hymn on page 85, which is How Firm a Foundation, but our wonderful music man was looking at the words. We are going to sing verses 1, 5, and 7. Drink up those words, they're really great. Our opening prayer will be by Becca O'Connor. Following that, Michael will be doing the introduction. But just before we hear from Brother Hank Smith, we're having a beautiful musical number, and it will be a cellist is Julia Sanger, and her accompanist is Hannah Christensen.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we are so grateful for these opportunities we have to come together, and we are so blessed that we're able to come here and feel of Thy Spirit. We're grateful for our Savior, Jesus Christ, and all that He has done for us. We ask that Thou will please bless those who are serving and who are willing to serve and help this conference go well. We ask for thy Spirit to be here and bless the speaker, that he will have thy Spirit with him, that he will know what we need to hear. We love thee and we thank thee. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen. Amen.
Just before I do the introduction, again, who's fairly new to the singles? Raise your hand again. We had a bunch, more hands. I'd really like you to meet with me in the Relief Society room on this side, the north side of the building, during the break. So when we have the break between two speakers, if you can remember the Relief Society room on the north side, it's very helpful. We're going to have a special musical number after I do the introduction of the speaker. Dr. Hank Smith grew up in St. George. His father was a professional golfer, and after getting his master's degree, he got a PhD and is an assistant professor of religion at BYU. And he has a weekly podcast that millions around the world enjoy. The greatest part of his life is his wife Sarah and his 5 children.
Wow. Wow. Oh. I think we should sing and pray more in the church and talk less. That was wonderful. That was wonderful. And I hate to ruin what that just brought. I will. But just know I hate to. That's tough. Now, I got to be honest, I'm pretty nervous. I do this kind of thing a lot, but this group makes me nervous. I feel like a lion in a room full of Daniels. This is rough. My sister, I came with my sister Jennifer, and as on our way over, she's like, now don't joke about this because you'll offend these people. And don't joke about that because you'll offend them. And don't say that because you'll offend them. And so I'm just going to say right now, there's a talk from Elder Bednar on choosing not to be offended. So if I offend you in any way, look that talk up, and Elder Bednar will help you through it. Okay. All right. Let's have some fun today. I wanted to share with you just briefly this project that I've been working on for the last 4 years. Is something that I'm very proud of, and I'm hoping to. I feel like I'm advertising something because I don't make any money off of this. It's not something that if you listen to it, somehow it's gonna bring wealth into my life. I gave up on that a long time ago. But the reason we do it, this is with John and I. John, by the way, some of you know who that is. He's like 180 years old. We did this because we want to help people. Like, that is our number one goal. When we record the show every week, we sit down and we talk, how can this lesson help people? That's what we're after, is helping people. So I would, as I was getting ready for today, I've been thinking all week, what am I going to do? And I thought, it's just there's not enough time, right? As I was looking through this and this and this, I thought, oh, this would be really good. Oh, this would be great too. Oh, I could use this. And then it's like, oh, I just don't have the time to share all that I'd want to share with you. So this little project enables John and I to do that. And what happens, if those of you who haven't heard of it, I'm sure many of you haven't, is we bring on a guest every week to walk us through basically the Come Follow Me lesson, and we use scripture. And I hope you'll give it a try. Not because we're not going to sell you anything. There's not going to be anything on there that's going to cost you anything. It's, of course, absolutely free. So I don't know why. I usually don't do that kind of thing, but for you, it just came to my mind that I wanted to offer that to you. So, okay. So today, I'm going to bring this a little closer to me here. Today, I like to laugh quite a bit. So we'll probably laugh a lot. Walt Disney said, laughter's no enemy to learning. I bet most of you remember this face, right? He said, in all of living, have much fun and laughter. Life is to be enjoyed, not just endured. Right? A lot like this fireside. It's to be enjoyed, not just endured. What's sad is my students at BYU, they don't know who President Hinckley is. I know. I say, do you guys know President Hinckley? Yeah, I mean, my mom talks about President Hinckley, and I'm like, we love all the presidents of the church, but anybody grateful to be a product of President Hinckley? That was my world. I still can hear that voice and see that hand go up and down. Do you remember the hand going up and down? His wife was the same way. She said the only way to get through life is to laugh your way through it. You either have to laugh or cry. I laugh because crying gives me a headache. It's absolutely true. Okay, so again, I feel like Mormon here. I cannot give you 1/100th of what I want to give you. So I decided to take my own little lens on this verse. So we're going to take the first half, then the second half. This is Mosiah 5, King Benjamin's people, be steadfast and immovable, always abounding in good works. I decided to focus on that a little bit because what I think we read when it says abounding in good works is giving giving to other people. Go give to other people. And that's good, obviously. Good works involves that, but that's not necessarily what it is. Good works can also be something that blesses you. Your good works can bless you, not just give, and give. As Latter-day Saints, we kind of run the well dry. Have you noticed? We give and we give and we give, and then pretty soon we're exhausted, and someone's like, can you give more? And you're like, yeah, I can give. And then we tell the therapist, I gave. Right? So some of these good works can be things that bless your life. I wrote a book on happiness. It sold dozens of copies, mostly to my mom. Yeah, honestly, if you want a copy of it, you can get it at the DI. I promise. You can. It's right next to the John By the Way shelf. Honestly. Now, I read. I want to share some of these good works that I think will be good for you, good for me, good for all of us. When I was writing the book, I ran into this study that I found so fascinating, and it's pretty well referenced throughout the literature on happiness. And that is they followed lottery winners for 18 months, and they followed people who went through some sort of accident and lost use of their legs for 18 months. And they wanted to find out who's happier. Now, this should not be a difficult thing. Right? If I had to offer one to you, right today, you can win the lottery or you can lose the use of your legs. Right? Yeah, you're like, this is hard. Let me pray about it. No. Even the Lord would be like, what are you doing? All right? Why would you pray about this? Right? You would think that you're won the lottery. I'm never going to be sad again, or I lost the use of my legs. I'm never going to be happy again. And they follow them for 18 months, and what they find is their happiness levels are the exact same. The exact same. I know. I'm shaking my head too. Like, what? Those people just don't know where to shop. Right? So here's what happened is they had a baseline. They won the lottery. Their happiness level skyrocketed and then came down really quick. And then the others, being paralyzed, went down, as you might guess. But after a certain amount of time, not even a long amount of time, just within that year range, everything comes back to baseline. So this fascinated me. If happiness isn't what happens to you, which honestly, I still haven't got out of that. Has anybody not gotten away from the happiness is what happens to me? Like nobody else, I do this all the time. No one else does this? Okay. See, that's why I'm a lion in a room full of Daniels. Because I wake up every morning hoping that good things will happen to me so I can be happy. Right? Yeah, good things happen, I'm happy, right? And yet, what does this study say? It makes no difference. No, it does. It does, right? So if happiness isn't what happens to me, what is it? So I had to go and research. Now, before we jump into this, I want to make sure you understand something. Well, I'm going to throw something out at you that I don't really understand, and that is the way the brain produces happiness is so complicated. So I'm not going to address that today. I honestly, I'm not the expert. I'm not even an expert, let alone the expert on this. But I will tell you this. This is very real. Depression, anxiety, these are obviously very real things that are happening. So those of you who are sitting here going, yeah, I struggle with depression. I have, I'm dealing with this. This isn't meant to cure that. That's not what those good works aren't. Okay, if you'll just do this, you'll be fine, right? Just pray harder. That's not what this is. So I want to acknowledge that's not what we're going after here. I do think the things we'll talk about today will help you, but that's not what we're after. Oh, are you going to turn those lights off for us so we can? These two pendants seem to be the problem. There you go. I know they never label those, do they? They're just like, just guess. Okay. The guy who builds the building has never been in this situation before. Okay. So does that help? Everybody nod if we're good, right? Because I don't want anybody coming up after going, well, I tried all those things and I'm still unhappy because I have depression and you're a jerk. And I'll be like, well, here's Elder Bednar's talk, right? Because that's not what we're going after. Okay, so let me show you the research on happiness and how that might translate into good works, which bless your life, which I think is totally fine. Okay, so if I were to take your happiness level, if you were to come up to me and somehow I was taking your happiness level out of your brain and hold it, any of you just wake up happy and go to bed happy and it's kind of your natural state to be happy? Who here is that way? That's awesome. You should thank your parents because half of that is your DNA. It's just your genetics. It's the way you're made up. How many of you don't go to bed happy and you don't wake up happy and you're not happy all the time? All right, you should talk to a therapist about your parents because it's the same idea. It's your DNA. It's 100%, well, I shouldn't say 100%. Half of your happiness levels is just the way you were born. It's just in your genes. Okay, 10% of your happiness, see that red slice right there, is your circumstances. That's not a lot, right? I could tell you your income, your weight, your age. I could give you all of those circumstances, and I couldn't really predict much of your happiness. Yet, I think would you say that we overemphasize that red slice? Right? Like, oh, that's what impacts happiness, when really it doesn't. Your circumstances. There are two major ones. They make up most of the 10%, and that is a health condition, a chronic health condition that can really impact. And then if you live below the poverty line. If those two things aren't happening to you, then circumstances are almost none. Like a tiny bit. I know, I hate this too. It's not true, but it is, but I hate it. Okay. So 40% of your happiness comes down to this little blue slice right here. Your intentional activities. Things that happy people do. Good works. They abound in, we'll call them happy works. They abound in happy works. Ask the person you came with. Say, what do you think's going to be on this list of activities? Intentional activities. Go ahead and ask them. Say, you go first. What is going to be on this list of intentional things that happy people do? Okay. Now, if it's not on the list, that's okay. I'm sure I'm not going to cover everything. Does anybody here know, before we get into the list, does anybody here know, and you can shout it out, this isn't sacrament meeting, does anybody here know the most valuable piece of art in the United States? It's the Mona Lisa's in France, right? So what's the most valuable piece of art in the United States? It's in New York City. What is it? It's not, but that's a good one. I like that one. That's more valuable to me. I'm sure you've seen it before. It's about a poster size. He never sold the paint. He sold one painting in his entire life. Starry Night. There you go. Starry Night. Starry Night is supposedly worth $182 million. Right? I wouldn't pay $182 million. I just get a replica for $5. But okay. So Starry Night. There was an art student. I read this article on Starry Night where this art student took Starry Night and cut it up. Not the original, but took a replica of Starry Night and cut it up into little pieces, hoping to count the brush strokes in Starry Night just for a project. And so here she is. She takes it in these little tiny pieces, and what she thought would be tens of thousands of brushstrokes ends up being hundreds of thousands of brushstrokes. Things that you don't even notice, right? When you look back, you think, oh, I could see how you could maybe count those up. And then as you get closer, there's just so many. And if you look at them individually, they're not that impressive. Right? If I were to ask you on this piece right here, what's the one that made it worth $180 million? Right? You're like, oh, it's that yellow one right there. I did have someone yell out once, the signature, and I was like, actually, that's pretty good. So what you find out is that a masterpiece like this is made up of tiny little brushstrokes, which in isolation is not very impressive. Does that make sense? So the things, what the research shows is that happy people don't do anything overly wow. They just do really small, simple things over and over and over and over and over. Does that make sense? So we're going to call them like the brushstrokes of happiness, always abounding in good works, the brushstrokes of what happy people do. Okay, so we're going to go through 12 of these. These are backed up by, do you know there's people that study happiness? Like this is their job. You hope they're happy. Right? Like 40 years you've studied happiness. How you feeling? I hate the world. All right. Like, how could we make things any better for you? Okay. So, number one, and this has impacted my life a lot, and I hope it will help yours. Number one is number one across every single study ever done on happiness. The number one thing that happy people do, I don't want you to yell it out, but I do want you to kind of stretch your brain. What is it that in every single study that happy people do? I mean, it is almost as close to social science as a law as you can get. Happy people have a happy social circle. It's number one across the board. Number one. You can take show me the 5 people you hang out with the most, and I will tell you how happy you are. Think of a mother. You had your 5 kids. Do you remember how sad you were? You spent all day with these 5 people. It is the most significant impact on people's happiness. Now, that doesn't mean you kick unhappy people out of your life, right? You're not like, well, I weighed you in the balance and you were found wanting. No. But that does mean if there are people that fill you with joy and energy, you need to spend time with them. Now, I'm not saying don't spend time with sad people. I know someone's going to come afterwards and go, well, you're saying I should abandon people. No. Maybe you guys aren't that way, but it's just my ward. Where if someone can take something wrong, it's going to be in my ward. So, but what I am saying is make a list or just kind of review in your mind who you spend your time with. That will be the number one factor in happiness. It's so critical. Can we just sit here for a moment as you stew over this and go, okay, who do I need to spend my time with? Right? I got to make time for that. I can't afford not to. All right, let's keep going. Now, the rest are in no particular order, but number one has been number one forever. Okay, number 2 is happy people try to be happy. Apparently, when happy people don't feel happy, they think about happy things. Go try it. Think about something happy. Maybe little kids, or food, or people falling. I don't care. Or ice cream, or what? Where? A birthday. Birthday. I don't know. Apparently, when they interview these happy people, what do? They say, I just think about happy things. Who could that? I want to have some interaction here. Who could do better at this? Who could do better? Any of you be like, you know what? My mind doesn't automatically go to the happy things. Right? Maybe a gratitude journal, something like this where I'm looking for happy things. All right, number 3. Happy people use their signature strengths often. All right, so what a signature strength is it's something that you do specifically for you. That's why I'm called signatures, because they're different, right, for everybody, that fill you with energy. So let me give you an example. My wife can sit down at the piano, play for 3 hours. She has more energy when she's done than when she started. That's not me. I sit down at the piano in about 10 minutes. My energy is gone, right? Because it never does what I want it to do. It's not a signature strength for me, but it is for her. Does that make sense? So what would it be for you? I really want you to think through this. What is a signature strength for you? For some people, I've heard it's baking. For others, it's athletics. For others, it's socializing, being with people. For others, someone told me once it's cleaning. They just love to clean things. I was like, can I hire you? We could both be happy. So ask the person next to you, say, what do you think one or two of your signature strengths are? Things that fill you with light. Can be music, guitar, art. Can be music. Can be travel. Something you finish, when you're done, you have more energy than when you started.
Could you turn the volume up just a touch for me? Because I can't hear myself. There it is.
It's okay. Okay. So do you have one in mind? Something in mind? I've noticed something. See if this is true for you. This is where you can nod at me. When you get really busy, life fills up with stuff to do. What usually gets kicked out first? Signature strengths. You're like, I just don't have time. I don't have time to do those things. I would love to have time, but I don't have time. And what I think we're getting after here is you have to make time. Or else you're not going to have a well for people to draw from. Right? We give and we give and we give, and pretty soon we don't have any more to give because this particular good work isn't happening. One of the reasons I can give so much to my BYU students and my children is because I don't spend all my time with my BYU students and my children, right? I have to do some of those things that I know fill me with energy. It's not selfish to do those things. You need to have something to give to other people. So will you just make a quick note somewhere that you are going to get the guitar out of the closet when you get home, or get your watercolor back out and start it over again. Okay, number 4, happy people spend money on other people. I know. Okay, so these studies are pretty fascinating. What they'll do is they'll go to a mall, or they'll go to a strip mall or something, or they'll go to a college campus, and they'll say, hey, do you have a couple of hours for a research study? And people sometimes like, what is it? And they'll say, we'll give you this $50. All you have to do is go spend it on yourself, come back, take a survey, and you're good. People are like, yeah, I'll do that. And then they do the same thing. They said, you have time? Yeah. Here's $50. You need to go and spend this on someone you love. Come back and take a survey, and you can go. And they're like, really? Yeah, okay. So they all go do it, and then they come back and they take the survey, and they don't know they're taking a happiness survey. Does that make sense? Like, it's embedded within a bunch of questions. Off the charts, who's happier? Those who bought for other people. I mean, it's not even close. In fact, some people who bought for themselves report being less happy than they were when they started because they regret their choice, right? They feel like, I didn't have enough time. I wish I could have gone further away from campus because there's this store that I like that, I wish it never happened to me, right? So it might be time, I've noticed with this, those of you who have children, I've noticed with my children, Christmas for them or other events like this are all about them getting, and who's getting all the happiness? Parents are, right? So I've started involving my children in go get gifts, go look for other people. In fact, I'll tell you one thing that I did is that starting around December 1st, 2nd, I'll give each of my children like $25, and I'll say, okay, between now and December 25th, you have to give this money away. You just have to give it away to whoever you want. And they'll be like, okay. And they can't give it to each other. They're like, will you give me more than 25? All right. So we're on the hunt, right? And we'll maybe be at the store. and they'll see someone. They're like, what if I gave them my $25? I'm like, that'd be great. That'd be great. Or we'll be at a restaurant. What if we went over and gave them $25? Do you want to give it to them, or do you want the server to give it to them? Oh, let's have the server do it. So the server goes over and the people, oh, really? Oh, who did that? And my boys were like, it was me. It was me. All right. Okay, so then we let Christmas come and go. Now it's mid-January. I put it on my calendar, ask them what was the best part of Christmas, right? 4 out of 5 every time. There's one. He is 20% of my children and 90% of my problems. He is, I'm telling you, we're honestly, I know you're going to laugh at this, but we're shooting for not prison. Like that. That's going to be a win for us. 4 out of 5 every single time. Dad, favorite part of Christmas was? Giving the money away. Giving the money away. It's fascinating how the brain works. Number 5, happy people have deep in-person conversations. This goes back to number 1 as well, right? Social circle. But what's happening to our world? It's getting more and more digital conversations. Right? I think to come to this event, it was all email, right? All email and text to come to this event, which is, it's great. It's great that we can arrange things like this. You can, have meetings. You can have emails instead of meetings. I get that. But how many of you have less in-person conversations than you did 20 years ago? Right? You can see why happiness across the country is just going down, especially with teenagers. Right? With teenagers, their conversations are almost all digital, which again can be helpful for social circle, but in person really matters. In person. So instead of texting your friends, you might say, let's all go out. Let's all go to lunch. In fact, have you ever done this? Have you ever been out with some friends and you're at dinner and you're done eating and you say, your server comes by, can I get you anything else? No. Okay, well, here's your check. And then a half hour later, you're still talking. And the server comes by and grabs some plates. You're like, oh, we'll leave soon. Sorry. And they're like, no, you're good. You're good. Stay as long as you want. So you keep talking. And then pretty soon the server comes over and says, hey, we're closing. Can you, right? And you keep talking, and pretty soon they're putting up the tables around you. There's someone vacuuming, right? And you're still talking. Finally, the manager is like, hey, can you lock up, right? Like, have you done this before and then gone to the parking lot and then kept talking? Why? Because your brain is loving this in-person conversation, right? Did you see what happened during the pandemic? As loneliness skyrocketed. England actually has, I don't know if you know this, a secretary of loneliness in the cabinet. Because it's just so, it's an epidemic of loneliness. BYU Idaho, I've talked to both of their presidents. Number 1 concern is loneliness. At both schools, that's their number 1 concern. All right, let's go to number 6. Happy people laugh. I know. You would think this is pretty simple. But it's, okay, so they take these little recorders and they put them on kids. And they keep them on the kid for 24 hours. Okay, so the kid forgets they have a recorder on them. And then they listen to the recording and they count how many times they laugh. A kid, somewhere, 8 and under, 9 and under, laughs up to 400 times per day. 400 times per day. An adult... The average is 15. What happened? Was it the mortgage? What happened? What happened? For some of us, I think, I don't know about you, but for me, I think it's my choice in entertainment sometimes, right? You have you're home from work, you're relaxed, let's turn on the television, let's watch a show, and a lot of us are like, let's watch murder, right? Like, I want to watch murder, either real murder, right? Someone who killed someone years ago, or just fake murder's fine with me too, right? And they're like, let's watch this, and we'll see if they figure out who did it, like they did last night and the night before that, right? So you might just change your entertainment options just a little bit and find some things that will make you laugh. Did you know that laughter, someone who laughs a lot has lower cholesterol, have a better blood pressure? Some of you are starting, right? It has the same benefits as exercise. All right. Okay, we're halfway. We're halfway through our list. Ask the person next to you, out of these 6, which one do you think you do? Don't tell them what to do better. All right? Don't be like, you need to laugh. Just ask, say, what do you think you could do better out of these 6? What's one you could improve on? Go ahead, ask them. We have happy social circle, making an effort to be happy, signature strengths, spending money on other people, in-person conversations, and finding more things to laugh. I already do that. All right. By the way, don't spend money you don't have. That's not going to make you happy. I do these, I'll do Israel tours sometimes, like I'll take a group of people to Israel. And I can't tell you how many grandmothers I have waited for as they buy things for their children and grandchildren. And after reading this study, I realized they're just selfish. They just want to be happy. So they're like, I'll grab that, and that. They'll love it. No, they won't. But you'll feel good giving it to them. All right. Number 7. How many people already do this? They use deliberately music. Who uses music to make themselves happier? Okay, so get this study. There was a group of people who every day got an hour-long massage for 90 days. How do you sign up for this research? Okay, another group of random people listened to 1 hour of a playlist they describe as a happy playlist. They chose the songs that make them happy. All right, so these guys got the hour-long massage. These guys got the 1 hour playlist. Who's happier? It's the music. And again, it's not even close. I want to be in the third group that gets an hour-long massage while listening to the happy playlist. And let's see how that works out. Be deliberate about your music. Now, again, these are brushstrokes. Do you see, if you do this once, if you're like, hey, I'm going to go listen to a happy song, Hank, I'm not any happier. That's not what this is. This isn't one thing's going to make this better. It's a brushstroke and another and another and another and another, and they add up over time. Okay, number 8. Happy people are looking forward to something. They have something on the calendar. I'm convinced this is why Jesus has told us we don't know when he's going to come back. He's like, I'm just going to leave it out there on the calendar for you. You have something to look forward to. Okay. So it doesn't have to be a trip to Paris. It can be a trip to Panguitch. It makes no difference. But having those things out on the calendar. Have any of you ever noticed that the anticipation for a vacation is better than the vacation itself? That's part of this, is you have something out on the calendar. All right, number 9. I know. I hate this one too. Happy people exercise and eat well. All right, let's skip it. Number 10. Just kidding. All right. Okay. So the research has found that getting 20 minutes of exercise, and I'm not talking like running a marathon, just 20 minutes where your heart rate is up, has a significant impact on the chemistry of your brain. In fact, exercise has shown to do more for mental illness than antidepressants. Exercise is the number one. But I get it. I get it. It's hard because you're like, well, what do I do? Where do I get started? Maybe go back to those signature strengths. Find something that really involves, that makes a difference for you, that makes you feel full of energy. It can be, go to the dance tonight. So the healthy diet, I mean, we could go on for a long time about this, and I'm not going to pretend to know exactly what that looks like. But from what, okay, I'll tell you a story. So a student came into my office years ago, and she said, I just won't get I'm not going to get my homework done. And I said, are you okay? She said, I'm so depressed. And I said, really? Has this happened before? And she said, no, just since coming to BYU. And I was like, well, it does have that effect on people. And I said, have you talked to your parents? Yeah. Have you talked to a doctor? Yeah. So I started looking. I was writing in the book at the time. So I'm like, what's your social circle like? She's like, it's pretty good. And we got to this one. And I said, what do you eat? And she said, oh, I just don't have time to eat. And I said, oh, what do you mean? She said, well, yesterday, what'd you have for breakfast? She said, Diet Mountain Dew. And I was like, what'd you have for lunch? Diet Mountain Dew. And what'd you have for dinner? She's like, ramen. Okay. I said, how often does that happen? She's like, well, every day. And I said, what was eating at home like before you came here? She said, oh, it was great. We had green smoothies, and we had full out, Sunday dinner. We had meals. And I said, do you think that had any impact, that switch coming here? And she's like, you think? I'm like, I think. My next question was, how'd you get into BYU? But that was not out loud. That was an inside thought. Now, I know some of you are looking at this, you're like, of course they're happy. They're skinny. Absolutely, it makes no difference. I want to highlight that. In all of the research, it makes no difference what people weigh, what their dress size is, absolutely none. In fact, some people will do this for 90 days or whatever, and they'll get done. They haven't lost a single pound. They still report being happier. All right, number 10. Happy people go outside. Now, this is an interesting one. I didn't see this one coming as I was studying, but here's what's interesting about this. Is they'll ask adults, how much time do you think you spend outside every day? And most say somewhere like an hour. And then they ask them to track it over a week. So will you please track this over a week? How often, just click this button every time you go outside or inside, okay? The average was 12 minutes per day. And that means there's some lower than 12 minutes per day. And they said, why do people think they spend time outside when they actually don't? And what the research showed is people think looking outside is the same as being outside. So they're in the kitchen, they're like, oh, what a nice day. Then they go to their garage, they get in the car. Being in the car does not count as being outside. They get to work or the store or something. How far is your walk from your work to the inside of from the car to the inside of the building? How many seconds? Yeah, for me it's probably, and I'm a ways away, so it's maybe 2 minutes because I got to climb the stairs at BYU. So I'm 2 minutes, and how many of you go to work and stay inside all day sometimes? It's okay, raise your hand. Some of you are like, I don't work. All right. Can be helpful. Okay. Then you're back into the car, 2 minutes. Let's say you stop at the store. There's another 30 seconds in, 30 seconds out. I'm up to 5 minutes. I go into the garage. I shut the garage. I go in the house. How long have I been outside? 5 minutes. I've been outside 5 minutes. So what the research shows is 20 consecutive minutes. 20 minutes for some reason is a important number for doing something. 20 consecutive minutes being outside changes your brain chemistry. Changes the way you think. Just take your phone outside. Some of you are, right? You're like, well, I spend all my time on my phone in my couch. All right, we'll just take it and sit on the steps outside. Because it's just that there's something about nature that's very healing. Do you ever watch young women go to girls' camp? And they get happier. They're outside. People pay $150 to go to Disneyland. It's the happiest place on earth. Guess why? You're outside, right? You could do the same thing. Have you ever had taking kids to Disneyland, then take them to the beach, and you're like, which one did you like more? And they're like, the beach. Like, that was free. It was outside. It was outside. All right. Number 11, happy people get enough sleep. All right. I know. Okay, want to have some fun? Let's take a family. Mom, dad, kids. Who do you think gets the best sleep in the house? It's baby. 0 to 1 year old, everyone's really concerned that this baby gets sleep. This baby's got to get sleep. After 1 or 2 years old, hey, you're on your own. The next one is dad, actually. It's dad, because some of them just fall asleep. They're just, they're just in church or something. They're just like, fall asleep. Guess who the 2 worst ones are? Mom and teenager. Those are the 2 worst ones. Teenagers, totally different. We don't have many of them here, but that's a phone thing for most. Okay, get this. A lot of you are parents and grandparents. Teenagers, on average, are getting 2 hours less sleep than you did as a teenager. 2 hours. Now, one night, that's not going to have impact. 2 nights, it's not going to have impact. Night after night after night, that's going to affect the way they think. It's going to affect their chemistry. All right. For moms, it's fascinating because kids go to bed, and moms all of a sudden wake up, right? They were awake before, but now they're really awake, and they're like, I can get stuff done. Pretty soon, my wife's ironing the fridge at 2 in the morning, right? Like, I just got to get one more thing done before they wake up and wreck it all. This is crucial. Like, I cannot, night after night after night of solid sleep, whatever it is for you, some of it's like 7 hours, some people it's 9, whatever. You've got to find what that is for you. If you don't know, if you're like, well, how do I know if I'm getting enough sleep? Take a day that you don't have to wake up and don't set an alarm. If you wake up at the same time you usually wake up, you're getting enough sleep. If you don't, if you could sleep, you're like, I could sleep for another 5 days. You do not get enough sleep. And again, some of you are like, I don't have time. I'm telling you, you don't have time not to. This has got to be a priority. All right, number 12. Now, number 12 is our last one, and I put it as 12 because it was the one that surprised me the most out of all of them. In fact, this is second to exercise when it comes to happiness, and I had never really thought about it. Number 12 is happy people meditate. I know. I was shocked and amazed as well. This one surprised me. Let me show you this quick study. I'll come back to our list here. This is a guy named Davidson out of Harvard. He went to Tibet and put these brain scanner things on monks who had 10,000 hours of practice of meditation. 10,000 hours. You know how many Instagram reels you could watch in 10,000 hours? When he watched their brains, he found that when they were engaged in what they called compassion meditation, where they just sat and sent compassion to themselves and other beings, listen to this. They showed the highest readings ever recorded in the happiness centers of the brain. Ever recorded in the happiness centers of the brain. All right. We've got 12 solid happy people brushstrokes here. Good works. I need you to choose one. I know some of you are like, I'll choose all 10. I'll get my friends. We'll go exercise together. Right? We'll meditate. I need you to just choose one. Ask the person next to you. Say, what's your one? You ask them first. Maybe 2. Maybe 2. Okay, write it down. Make a note. Set an alarm. Something. Now, my friends, reading this list will not help you. All right? Planning on doing these things will not help you. Right? What would King Benjamin say? If you believe all these things, see that you do them. See that you do them. So I've had a few people report back to me after about 6 months that it made a significant difference. And what they did is they printed out the list and they put it in their closet or in their car so they could have a constant reminder to start just painting these brushstrokes. It's not going to happen at once. In almost all of these, it takes about 15 days before you'll notice any difference at all. Most people quit about 14 days. Right? It's just right there. And I get it. We're like, we're creatures of habit. It takes a while for things to become normal. For example, those of you who wear a ring or a bracelet or something, if you were to switch that ring or bracelet to a different arm to the other side, it would bother you for about 10 days. Then pretty soon, you would become as used to it as it was on this one. And if you switched back, it would bother you. Right? It's just a matter of pushing through. It's almost like the space shuttle, you know, that 90-something% of the fuel is the first 10 minutes, and then it kind of can take off from there. So it's that way with changing habits. It's putting all your energy in those first 10 to 14, 15 days, and all of a sudden things start to change. You're going to have someone come up to you in a month and go, "You look happier." You're like, "Well, I have been exercising." They're like, "You keep it up. You look good." Right? Something is happening. It will have impact. All right. Elder Holland said it this way. He said, "Speak hopefully, speak encouragingly, including about yourself." How many of you could talk a little bit better about yourself? Including about yourself. I have often thought that Nephi's being bound with cords and beaten by rods must have been more tolerable to him than listening to Laman and Lemuel's constant murmuring. Surely he must have said at least once, "Hit me one more time, I can still hear you." Speak encouragingly. Speak encouragingly. This is Thomas Edison. When he was 12 years old, did you know he lost 90% of his hearing? There was an accident. He lost 90% of his hearing. His parents were devastated, thought his life was over. He said, "It helps. I like it. It helps me concentrate." He found something good in this. When he was 36, 37 years old, a newspaper reporter said that Edison's career was a failure because he had not achieved his light bulb goal, I guess. And he had tried over 1,000 different type of prototypes, and they all didn't work. Can you imagine? This one, no. This one, no. This one, no. It's kind of like dating. This one, no. This one, no. This one, no. Right? And the newspaper reporter said, "Edison has failed." This is what he said. He said, "I have not failed. I have found over 1,000 ways it will not work." Right? It's just a way of looking at things. When he was 67 years old, his New Jersey factory burned to the ground. The whole thing. $3 million worth of damages. He had $250,000 worth of insurance. Right? So he lost $2.75 million. His son said, when I saw him, the firefighters were all there. He said, when I saw him, he said, my heart broke. There he was in his bathrobe, his white hair blowing in the wind, looking at his life going up in flames. When he saw me, he said, "Charles, where's your mother?" I said, "Father, I don't know." And he said, "Charles, go find your mother and bring her here fast. She'll never see a fire like this as long as she lives." The next day, all of his employees gathered around, and he said, "There is great value in this disaster because all of our mistakes are burned up. Now we can start. Thank heaven we get to start brand new." It was a way of looking at things, right? That lens of I choose faith. I choose to see these things. Let me give you an example. Let's say Your grandbaby's at your house, and you come home to this. Find all the good. Find all the good. Go. Tell me why this is good. It's not bad, it's good. Why? At least it's peanut butter. Yeah, get the dog. It's going to make a great picture. Okay, let's say you're a professional calligrapher and you come home and your dog has gotten into the ink. Why is this good? The dog got into the ink. Why is this good? Go. Why is this good? Good exercise for the dog. He's an artist. Let's say you're out camping. You're out camping. You go to one of those really nice outhouses they have when you're out camping, and you look over and you see this. Tell me why it's good. Out loud. Why is this good? There's toilet paper. Speak hopefully. Speak encouragingly, including about yourself. You've got to speak hopefully. Because pretty soon, if you only point out the bad, that's all you'll see. Right? And that's all you'll see in people, and that's all you'll see in the world. That's all right? If you listen to some social media sources, everything is bad, right? Everything is awful. They've trained themselves to see that. And we can train ourselves to not see that way. Remember President Hinckley? Right? It's going to work out. Do you remember he used to say that? It's going to work out. It's going to work out. Okay. I want to finish with a parable of sorts that I hope will be helpful. You're going to have to listen with your spiritual ears as I tell you this story. It's not really about. It's a parable. You guys, I don't have to explain it to you. You're old. Okay. Older than I'm also old with you. All right. But with teenagers, I have to be like spiritual ears. Like, I don't get it. It's a parable. It's a parables? No. All right. Okay, this is the Provo Tabernacle. Some of you might remember the Provo Tabernacle. You probably weren't there when it opened. It was built in 1886. It's a long time ago. 1986 was a long time ago. That's when BYU won national championships, right? But sorry. Elder Bednar's talk. All right. 1886. The first speaker at this building was John Taylor. Like the John Taylor, Carthage Jail, John Taylor. That's an old building. It was the Tabernacle, the Provo Tabernacle, till 2010. So that's 124 years. We don't build buildings like that. Like this building that we're in is like a 50-year building. They'll build it 50 years. They'll either do a huge remodel or they'll take it down and build another one. It's just not meant to last. This building right here, this Provo Tabernacle, superb building. And you got to think that the building's going, I'm a pretty solid building, right? Like I'm doing my duty. And then most of you remember December of 2010. There was a Christmas concert in the Provo Tabernacle. I don't know if you know this, but they wanted to put a Christmas tree in the middle. There wasn't enough room for a Christmas tree stand, so they lowered a cable through the roof to hold the Christmas tree in place. And the man who had moved the canned light to run the cable from the roof down put the light in the insulation and didn't unplug it. So when they turned the lights on, it was just sitting in the insulation. He obviously made a major mistake. So December of 2010, there is a 4-alarm fire. I live in Mapleton. Some of you might remember that. I could see it. I could see the light, and I'm 8 miles away. It was massive, and I remember driving by it on the way to work, and it was gutted. There were people outside crying, which I didn't understand. because it's not the St. George Tabernacle, which is the one true tabernacle, right, where I grew up. Okay, we're going to do, for our parable, here's what we're going to do. We're going to give this building thoughts and feelings. And you can do this with me. I think if we could put a little stethoscope up to the building, we might hear it say, first of all, ouch. Ouch. Not little, ouch. This is awful. Right? And then we might hear it pray. And it might say something like this. What did I ever do to you? There are other buildings on this street that deserve this. Right? New Skin. The Lavelle Edwards Stadium, right? Right? Like, why me? I was trying my best to be good. I was trying to do what you asked me to do, and this is the thanks I get? I wonder if you'd even hear the building start to question the existence of God, right? Like, I don't even think you're there. My life is over. My everything is over. I'm worthless now. I think if you could probably, I know it's a little cheesy, but I think if you walked by that building, you could probably hear it weep. It's not fair. Now, President Monson stood up in April of 2011 General Conference and said, we love that building. We're not going to, because I thought, this is just the business person in me, I guess, that I thought they'd tear it down or sell the property, right? Like, it's a downtown Provo, it's booming, like, hey, it's a nice piece of property. But President Monson said, no, we'll invest in it. And so they started to clean things up and start to, see what we can use here. And this beautiful brick shell remained. I talked to the fire chief once, and he said, if we're already out on a fake call, so apparently the fire engine was already out on a call that ended up not being real. They're on their way back to the firehouse when they get this call. So they're there in 30 seconds, which I'm sure the security guard's like, wow, you guys are fast. And what the fire chief told me is that he said, if we get there 20 minutes before, we can save the building. If we get there 20 minutes later, we can't save the brick. He said there was a 20-minute window where we couldn't save the building, but we could save the brick because the brick would have been too hot and it would have crumbled. Now, I'll go fast here. My time is running out. But I have a friend named Mike who is a soil and foundation specialist. I know, dream job. And he got the call. He's very happy. He spends a lot of time outside. He got the call on the church said, could you come give us a bid on reworking the foundation? The foundation's 124 years old. We're going to have to obviously replace it. Mike came in. He said, this is what I'd do. I'd take down all the brick. I'd barcode it and make sure you put it back where it was after you rebuild the foundation. And he said that the presiding bishopric, said that they said something like, can you replace the foundation without moving the brick? And he said, I don't know how to tell him this, but he said something like, the foundation's at the bottom, right? He said he got a call from President Uchtdorf, who was in the first presidency at the time. And he said, I've talked to the presiding bishopric, and here's what we're thinking, here's what you do. And he said, yeah, President, you could maybe do it on a building that's not that old and not that big, but not something like this. That's never been done before. And apparently, President Uchtdorf said something like this. He said, well, I talked to President Monson. He says to move ahead with it, and he believes in you. I was sitting at dinner or breakfast with Mike, and I said, "What'd you do?" He's like, "I just stared at my phone." And I said, "What happened?" And he got a little weepy. He said, "Hank, it was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. But 17 months later, we had the foundation replaced. We had not moved the building. It was sitting on a steel frame." I said, how did it go? He said, usually in construction, you work by feet. This, we were working by inch. So carefully. He said, because we didn't want it obviously to cave in. Okay, this is a true story. I'll make it fast. He got another call from the presiding bishopric and said, "President Uchtdorf would like to talk to you." They just skip him now. Or they just skip them. President Uchtdorf calls Mike. Phenomenal job, great job. President Monson is asking about a basement, underground parking, that kind of thing. And he thought he was joking. He was like, "Holy cow, the second counselor in the first presidency called me to tell me a joke. Like, this is great." And he was like, "Ha ha." And he said, "So what do you think?" And he said, "President, what we just did was impossible. What you're asking is astronomically impossible. Not only has it never been done on a building this old and a building this big, it's never been done. We're making it up as we go." And he's apparently got the same, President Monson says to move ahead, and he believes in you. I think Mike looked at his phone and said, "I used to believe in you," right? Like, I said, "Mike, what happened?" And the tears started coming. This guy really gets into soil and foundation. He said, "It took us 2 years, but in 2 years, we had the building 45 feet in the air." He said, people were coming from all around the world to see this. He said there were construction firms sending people here for weeks at a time from Japan and China and Russia, all coming to say, "How did you do that? What are you doing?" He said this picture right here was on the cover of both Soil and Foundation magazines. He actually said that. And he wanted me to be impressed. And so I was like, wow. But in my head, you're doing the same thing as me. Who subscribes to the Soil and Foundation magazine? Now, you know how this finishes, so do I. They complete the Provo City Center Temple. Who's been? All of us, a lot of us. Okay, I want to put two buildings side by side. Now, the Lord tells us that he can see the end from the beginning. He says past, present, and future, section 130, right? Past, present, future are all the same to me. I see them all at the same time. All right. So you're the Lord now, and you can see both of these. And you hear the prayer of the building on the left. Why would you do this to me? I've tried so hard to be good. I've done everything you've asked me to do, and this is the thanks I get? I don't even know if you're there. I don't know if you care. Okay, now you're the Lord, and just silently or close to silently, how would you answer that prayer, seeing this? Just hold on. Just hold on. Oh, you're going to love how this turns out. I'm telling you, it's going to be better than you ever thought it would be. But just hold on. I know you're hurting. I know you're hurting. Just hold on. Some of you are going through the most difficult time of your life. And you sit here very kindly, right? Latter-day Saints get together a couple times a week to lie to each other about how they're doing. Right? How are you doing? Great. How are you? So good. Can't complain. Right? Everybody's sad. So those of you who are, will you just write down a quick reference for me? This is Job 13:15. It's a very short verse, but it's one that you can remember forever. Though he slay me, yet will I trust him. He's broken my heart. He's allowed this or that to happen. I will trust him. Oh, I didn't show you this. Did you know that one painting survived the fire? One single painting, and not even the whole painting, just that part. Coincidence? Probably. But I still like it. I still like it. I think there's a message there. Hopefully you can guess that I'm all in on the church. Hopefully no one here is like, I wonder if he's a member. I'm all in, right? Both feet in, burn the boats behind me. I am in. But my witness is not the most important witness. So I'm going to share with you 3. Jesus is our perfect example. I pray that we may, with all our hearts, for all our lives, remember his sacrifice and his love for us. President Oaks, we must trust him enough that we are content to accept his will, knowing that he knows what is best for us. We are content to accept his will, accept our path. And then this will be the most important thing you hear today, so I'll finish here. There is only one in whom your faith is always safe, the Lord Jesus Christ. And I leave that with you in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you so much, Hank, and thank you for being our laugh leader and our happiness teacher today. I think we all feel better and happier for being here right now. So thank you for that. We are not going to have a closing prayer until our last workshop, and we've got about 15 minutes for you to stand up and stretch your legs. We have Connie Sokol in here. She will start at 2:45, and David Schramm will be in the chapel over there, so half here, half there, and they will be speaking from 2:45 to 3:45. After that, we will have a mingle and snacks in the back, and then you can switch and hear the other workshops. So we'll meet you back here at 2:45.
Michelle.